Oh, hello. Today we're going to talk about the Space Marine faction preview for Kill Team as released today on Warhammer Community. Let's go. So we're going to start with the Angels of Death. Now, the Angels of Death are a completely brand new Kill Team. This is amazing. Now, we did speculate that this was going to happen, that they'd push the Strike Force Justian into the intercession team, which is exactly what they've done. A lot of people seem to be like, yeah, we knew this was coming. Not sure if there's some retconning going on there. Like, certainly the circles I move in, nobody was sure this was happening. It was a feverish hope. So I'm really pleased actually to see this. I think it's really cool. Let's actually read the pros from Warcom because there's a little bit of a detail in it. So, Space Marines have a wide array. Don't just make up words. Space Marines have a wide array of specialists, and the Angels of Death bring together their disparate skills into a powerful and cohesive force. This faction combines elements of two kill teams, the Intercession Squad and Strike Force Justian, so commanders can recreate their old squad or experiment with fresh combinations. The Angels of Death are Astartes, and they retain their ability to shoot or fight twice in the same turn, with new restrictions that mandate at least one shot must come from a bolt weapon. That was always a thing. While heavy weapons cost an extra AP to shoot a second time. So we assume then that a heavy bolter, like if I'm reading this correctly, what I'm saying is a heavy bolter can shoot twice for 3 AP. Because it's not that shooting with bolt weapons is going to be free, and you're going to have to pay the extra AP to shoot the second time with the heavy bolter. This must mean that shooting the second time with the heavy bolter is a 2 AP action, right? I mean, that's still cool. To represent the many different ways in which chapters fight, the Chapter Tactics faction rule allows you to customize your kill team with any 2 rules from a thematic list, from soaking damage easier to avoiding APL penalties to shooting better and striking more swiftly. So, without getting too far into this, what we've actually got here, let's just think of what this means, Angels of Death. So, Strike Force Justian. You had Captain Justian. You had the Sergeant, right, with a rifle, okay. You had the fellow with the rifle and the smoke grenade. You have the sniper, the heavy bolter, the assault guy, right? And then I think you had a 7th option that was just a guy with a rifle, right? So what we're really looking at here, if you assume Captain Justian, we know he's in there because we're going to see his card in a second. Spoilers. If you consider that the sergeant probably just gets rolled into the intercession sergeant, right? And so does the guy with the smoke grenade, and the regular guy are just going to be intercessors. So what we're really talking about gaining here from Strike Force Justian is Justian, the sniper, and the heavy bolter, right? So it's going to be those 3. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they meld with the intercession models. So can you, for example, take a sniper and a heavy bolter and a grenade launcher and a grenadier, or are there going to be like 2 slots where you pick sniper, grenade launcher, grenadier? When you pick 2 or you pick 3, we don't know. And the same with leaders. In the actual Strike Force Justian team, you could take Captain Justian, and you also took a sergeant because he hit on 2s and had an extra wound. So it was effectively you had an intercessor sergeant and Justian. I wonder if now you're going to end up effectively with a leader slot, so you're going to lose the ability to take the captain and the intercessor sergeant, right, at the same time. I don't know how that's going to work, right? So the devil's in the detail, but it's a really interesting one. Another interesting question is how you, physically, if you don't already own the Warhammer Heroes Strike Force Justian and you're going to build this team, most of it you can make from the Intercessor box and the Assault Intercessor box. I guess you have to buy a Space Marine Captain if you want a Space Marine Captain. I guess if you want the Sniper, you have to go and buy a box of Eliminators. And I guess if you want the heavy bolter guy, you have to go and buy a box of heavy intercessors. So it's almost like a White Dwarf team. If you don't have them already, and you want those 3 individuals, like going and buying the cool multi-part Space Marine Captain is really not a problem. Most people would quite happily do that. But having to go and buy a box of Eliminators to get a Sniper, or a box of heavy intercessors to get the heavy bolter fellow, that's more annoying, isn't it? But it's only the same, really. The AdMech team's a pain to buy. The Chaos Cults team's a pain to buy. There's plenty of teams out there that are a pain to buy. So it's interesting. So let's have a little look at what they've actually done here. They've told us that every the team's going to have shoot and fight twice baked in, and 3 AP to fire the heavy bolter, I guess. Chapter tactics. So they've shown us 1, 2, 3, 4 of the chapter tactics, and they have said this is a small selection of chapter tactics to choose from. So, we assume that most of the rest of them that we're used to from the intercession team are probably there. There are some little changes. So aggressive just gives you rending straight up now. It used to be you got rending on the charge, so that's been buffed. Resolute is new and powerful. So Resolute says, you can ignore any changes to the operative's APL stats. So in other words, you got team-wide, never injured without having to spend a CP for it, which... Okay, not never injured because you still got the movement penalty for being injured, but it seems like a big deal to me. It does seem like a big deal to me. And then we've got Stealthy and Hardy, which appear unchanged. Combat Doctrine has been reworded and consolidated into a single ploy, but is effectively unchanged from the old Devastator tactical and assault doctrines that both these teams had. Purity Seals changed. So it used to be you spent an equipment point and you get a free reroll to use at some point in the game. Now it actually seems pretty good. So you buy Purity Seals as one of your 4 equipment picks, and then once per turning point, when an operative on your team shoots, fights, or retaliates, if you roll 2 or more fails, you can automatically discard one of them up to a normal success, right? So you discard one so it can't be re-rolled, but then you automatically get the other one to be a normal success. So it's just like insurance against like painfully whiffing your rolls. And anything that adds in that little bit of consistency is really cool. I really like Purity Seals. I think it's probably really very good. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you could take it and then never get to use it, or you could take it and have to use it multiple times in a turning point. You can only use it once, but it seems really, really good. So I quite like Purity Seals as well. Let me know in the comments what you think. Purity Seals, yay or nay, but I think it's certainly better than a CP reroll. Right, we get to see a data card, Justian. Now, Justian has unfortunately been nerfed. That'll happen when you lose your name and you turn into a Space Marine captain. So, his pistol. He used to be hitting on 2s with his pistol, and now he's hitting on 3s with his pistol, which is pretty sad, especially when you consider now how hot works, because hot on a plasma pistol is now you roll all your dice and do your attack, and that's done. And at the end of everything, you roll 1 dice, and that 1 dice, if it rolls under your hit characteristic, so if you roll, in this case, a 1 or a 2, you take twice that many mortal wounds. And I had thought when I went through the hot rules that things like the Space Marine Captain, but also various other miniatures that have plasma pistol that hit on 2s, it actually made the hot rule better for them, because instead of when you roll a 1 to hit, you might take 3 wounds. It's now, if you roll a 1 on this dice that's a 1-off, you might take 2 wounds. So I'm wondering, and people like the Novitiate Superior, as well as various Space Marine leaders, should be wary of this. I'm wondering if they've decided that people with plasma pistols shouldn't be hitting on 2s. Because you got to remember that plasma, the way Kill Team works is that the hit is baked into the weapon. So I talk about the BS and the weapon skill. A lot of people talk about weapon skill and ability skill. It's not really a stat. It's often a hidden stat, right? With hidden, you can conceive of it as a hidden stat. So previously, you would have said that the Captain Justian seemed like he had a weapon skill and an ability skill of 2, and then the path is modified it to +3, because previously, if you'd looked at cards, I'm going so far off-piste. If you're a new player, this is going to be meaningless to you, but this is like a peek behind the engine of Kill Team, right? So if you have a model that has a bunch of different melee weapon options, you'd usually found the Power Fist would hit on one worse than all the others, because it had like a hidden -1 to hit. Now, I think they must be moving away from that, because if you look at the Space Marine Captain here, they've just decided his plasma pistol is going to hit on 3s, used to be 2s, but his Power Fist is going to hit still on 3s. It doesn't have to go down to 4s. So I don't think they're thinking kind of in that narrative way about how good is a captain at shooting and fighting. What would his ballistic skill and weapon skill be, like in a narrative sense? They're just going, look, no, for game purposes, we need the plasma pistol to hit on 3s, because plasma pistol hitting on 2 is too good, but we don't have any reason we need to nerf the power fist so that can stay on 3+, which just gives him a slightly odd looking card to someone who's been playing the game for a long time, but it's fine, but it is a nerf. Plasma pistols always seem to be nerfed as well. So plasma pistol's damage has been nerfed. The plasma pistol on standard charge is now 3.5. It used to be 5.6. And then on overcharged, it also used to be 5.6, and it just gets to go back up to 4.5. So that's significant, like significantly less damage as well as the nerfs that we've generally seen to plasma. So they no longer get AP2 on supercharge, they do gain lethal 5 up instead, which is fine, but I don't know, it just seems like a weak weapon now, plasma pistol, in many ways. But if you want to take a captain, he's going with it anyway, so you haven't got a choice, so you don't need to weigh it up. On other cards, for other teams, I'm sure we'll have the conversation where we'll be weighing up, is the plasma pistol actually such an auto take now? And maybe it is. It's going to be really... I just think it's going to be really sad on... for Nemesis Claw, right? The Nemesis Claw leader that's got like the classic, you could take a plasma pistol and an Astroman chain blade, or you can take a bolt pistol and a power fist. If plasma pistols are going to suck a little bit, like maybe it's worth taking the power fist, but that's also kind of sad because the Nostraman Chainblade is the cool exclusive Night Lords looking bit. But we're going to cross that bridge when he comes to it. Like, stop rambling on Night Lords, Phil. Come on. So his heroic leader has also been nerfed. It used to give you just an extra CP every turn, and now it's like, well, you can have an extra CP for certain things. So he can use a firefight ploy for 0 CP on himself, or you can use the Adjust Doctrine firefight ploy, which is usually what lets you change your traits. Although with the fact that we don't have rosters anymore, I'm assuming that you're going to be able to change your traits before every game in a tournament anyway. Don't know. His Iron Halo has also changed from a +4 invulnerable once per game to a sort of just a scratch thing. I'll read it. Iron Halo, once per battle, when an attack dice inflicts normal damage on an operative, you can ignore the inflicted damage. So, I mean, he's not bad by any sense. I do think he's taken considerable nerfs from where he was. And it's an interesting one. A lot of it's going to turn on army construction rules, because like I say, in the original Justian you could take him alongside like a regular leader. I imagine now you're going to be choosing between the captain or the intercessor sergeant or the assault intercessor sergeant for your leader slot. He does have that leader keyword, because previously in Justian you could like not make him the leader and choose for the sergeant to be a leader, and I think that's probably gone now. So Kill Team's a very mechanical first game. It's one of the only Games Workshop games, it feels like, where if there's a choice between doing what's mechanically good for the game and what makes sense in the lore, they're going to pick what's mechanically good for the game, which means that the Space Marine Captain has probably got to be on a par in some way with the Intercessor Sergeants, which probably accounts for why he's gotten a little bit worse. So that it's not always the captain, and sometimes it's going to be the intercessor sergeants. So we really, this team's going to be the most interesting thing on launch day when we get all the teams. I think this is going to be the most interesting one that people want to go and look at first, because it'd be really interesting just to see what the army construction rules, are like. I think that's very important. So we've got the Phobos strike team. So just to flag up first, this little asterisk at the top, they also get the Astartes rule common to Space Marine kill teams. So they also have baked in shoot and fight twice, just for free, right? Multi-spectrum array is worded differently, but it's functionally unchanged. Omni Scrambler has gained a little bonus here for the Vox Breaker. So Omni Scramble is the thing that means that if a friendly infiltrator is in the kill zone, you select one friendly operative that's visible to or wholly within 6. No, so it's visible to, and then it can't be activated until they've activated the number of enemy models equal to the number of friendly models in the kill zone, friendly infiltrator models in the kill zone. And all they've added is an extra bit where you can also target someone that maybe isn't visible to an infiltrator, but is within 6 inches of a friendly Vox Breaker, maybe on the other side of a wall. So a little bit of an extra reason to take the Vox Breaker. We do see the Vox Breaker's card. He's been significantly buffed as well. So that's just a little note on Omni Scrambler. It does that now. Specialist Ammunition, which is a new equipment piece. So once per turning point, when a friendly Phobos strike team operative is performing the shoot action, you can select a bolt carbine, marksman bolt carbine, or Oculus bolt carbine. You can use this rule until the end of the turning point. You get piercing 1. It's like, yes, obviously getting piercing 1 is great, but is piercing 1 on one shot a turning point worth an equipment point? Is it better than 2 crack grenades? Like, I don't know. Is it better than 2 crack grenades? Is it better than some some barbed wire or a wall? Like, it's really, really hard in isolation to weigh these things up. It doesn't make my mouth water in the way some of the equipments that we've previewed so far have. If it was like, yeah, it's piercing 1 for your entire team all the time, it would be like, yes, get in. But piercing 1 for like 1 model a turn? I think it's really hard to know exactly when to use it as well in each turn, which would be interesting. Yeah. Patient Ambush is also new. So you can use the Firefight Ploy. Instead of activating, you skip an activation. So it gives you that Nemesis Claw style ability to make the other person go do a double turn, so you keep your guys hidden. I will point out that because it's a firefight ploy, what we used to call a tactical ploy, they're only doing it once per turning point. So in effect, you can get a 7th activation, assuming all of your guys are alive, which is not quite the same as Nemesis Claw, who could potentially, even though it's rolling a d3, they could like stack it up and then skip a load. You've not got that, but you've got the ability to skip one to get a 7th activation, which is pretty cool, especially against other elites, where near the start of the turn it can make a big difference, I guess. You know, if they're doing that thing where they've got a plasma gun or a heavy bolter or a sniper or something that's hanging back and blocking you from going up an area, you know, you can do that, sort of skip it out and then go, cool, now I know I'm getting the last activation of turning point 1, which is always pretty cool in the elite versus elite matchup, so it's pretty good. And it may well come up in later turns in the game as well, and if it does, it's nice to have. They lost the ability to change an order for an AP, so this used to be a team-wide ability for the Phobos, where they could spend an action point and change an order, which was pretty cool. They can't do that anymore. That seems to disappear. So we see the Infiltrator Vox Breaker. So they've got a natural move of 7-inch now. Phobos used to have a strategic ploy that did a bunch of stuff, among which it gave them an extra inch of movement. So now that's baked in, so maybe that strategic ploy is gone, which is probably for the best, right? Auspex Scan has been massively buffed. So Auspex Scan is now all enemies within 8 of this operative. It used to be you had to pick one enemy within 6, right? And then the buff used to apply to only one friend within 3, and now it applies to your whole team. So that's, you know, massive, but I said nobody took the Vox Breaker. So it used to be like one little fiddly guy, and you could be like, you can't be obscured for this other guy that's standing right next to me and that I'm pointing to. And now it's just like, no. One guy with an 8 is not obscured for my entire team. That's what we want from an Auspex ability, right? That's better. And then the added little bonus, the added little cherry on top, if you're shooting at the Auspex target with an incursor, its ranged weapons have Seek Light, which is effectively indirect, I guess, but only as far as light terrain is concerned. But that's pretty cool. So yeah, big buff. This guy needed a buff because no one much was using him. You generally drop him and take something else more exciting, like a Reaver. But yeah, Vox Breakers. They are definitely something that you know, if you're going up against Nemesis Claw, that's definitely something where you'll be like, yep, I'm taking my Vox Breaker now. Thank you very much. Yeah. Scout Squad. Scout Squad don't have the asterisk that says that they have the Astartes rule, which I mentioned this because, spoilers, both the Chaos teams do. So because they're not full Astartes, I guess, they don't have the thing where they have built-in fire twice with bolters or fight twice as one of their things, seemingly, right? So forward scouting is basically the same in concept, but there have been some tweaks to it. So redeploy used to be you could take it up to 5 times, but it was changed the setup of one of your guys. Now you can change the setup of 3 of your of a third of your operatives, but you can only pick it once. So you can no longer do it fully half your team, but at the same time you can no longer spend all of your forward scouting points on it. So it's kind of a buff, I think. Recon was named Reposition in line with the new scouting options and rules and things, that's fine. Diversion is basically the same, except it also now has to target a model within 6 of the kill zone edge. Gunfire Ambush is unchanged, except that it's a strategic ploy, and it's shown here with the black banner as if it's attack ploy, but if you read it, it reads like a strategic ploy because it's like whenever a friendly operative is. So I'm guessing that's just a Warcom problem. It could be well, these aren't going to get printed, so even if it is just they can fix it. They still have time. It's going to be a PDF. Camo Cloak is unchanged, but of course now if you pick it, it applies to your entire team, which is pretty juicy. So an additional cover save just all the time for your entire team. Like, now that is a good equipment point. That, unlike the one which was like, oh, have P1 on one gun once per turning point, that's meh. But things where I'm getting a thing like a tangible buff for my entire team, to me those are the equipments that I'm going, yes, that's what I want. Just make my entire team better. Just ladle it on. Off we go. And for me, I'll probably take all equipment like that if I can most of the time. That's going to be the first port of call. Anything that's just make team better, yeah, do it. Let's have a look at the Scout data card. So we're given the Scout Sniper. He still has a bolt pistol, which he would never need to use, but he has it. It's given the 8-inch range buff, which is nice. His sniper rifle's been given a mobile firing mode, which you didn't have before. So you can now shoot like a bolt pistol from more than 8 inches away. So the bolt pistol really is totally irrelevant, but there it is. It's a thing. The stationary mode of the sniper rifle has heavy. Not heavy dash only, it has heavy. So he has actually taken a nerf in the sense there that he previously you could always dash if you're heavy. Now you specifically, if it's heavy and it doesn't say only dash, you can't move at all. So if you want to get that stationary profile, you have to say stock still for your entire turn. Optics totally unchanged. He has a better camo cloak. So his camo cloak, it ignores saturate, which we used to call no cover. Okay, and it also does the thing where you can retain, just like the regular camo cloak equipment, you can retain 2 saves from cover, or if you want to, you can retain a single crit save, which is pretty cool. So I like the sniper. He's gotten some little buffs here and there, which is good. Mostly he's stayed the same. Yeah, quite happy. The Legionaries. So these do get the Astartes rule common to all Space Marine kill teams. They can all, for free, shoot twice as long as one weapon is a bolt weapon. Probably takes 2 APL if it's a heavy bolter. We think that's what they mean by that. And they can fight twice. Marks of Chaos seem totally unrestricted. And since the roster seems gone as a concept, you're in the zone now where you're rocking up to the table. As far as I'm aware, you're just like the Marines are with their chapter tactics. You're rocking up to the table and you're just deciding when you pick your kill team what marks they're going to have, right? Mrs. TI thinks this is great because her Marines are painted as word bearers. It's not like she's got some people have them painted like the different god styles, but if you're playing word bearers, it's great. So you can do things like, well, today I'm going to try my plasma gunner as Slanesh to see if I can make use of the extra inch. Tomorrow I'm going to try him as Nurgle. He keeps coughing a lot of fire, whatever it might be. So that's real cool. It gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of list building, actually, potentially. But the kind of list building that I think is really cool, the Malifaux style list building, where you're turning up to the table and then you're going, all right, I've got all these options. What tools am I going to take out on my quiver for this game? The same with Legionary, not Legionaries. The same with Inquisition. Like, I didn't save this at the time in the Inquisition video because I had in the Imperium one because I hadn't cemented in my mind that the roster has gone. But given that the roster is gone, if you're playing the Inquisition, you can just rock up to every game with, like, 5 kill teams in a briefcase and be like, just bear with me, I've got to go deep thought for a moment and decide exactly what I want to bring. So that's pretty cool, anyway, with the Marks of Chaos. Man, I want to play Legionaries now. I want to play Inquisition now so I can bring 5 kill teams to every game. But, yeah, well, that's cool. You can mix and match, which always, like, people are like, oh, if you don't like the fact that the marks can't be mixed, then you don't understand the law of chaos, and you're a tourist, because Khorne and, I can't even fucking remember it, because I am a fucking tourist. No, like, sorry for the swearing, I'm really tired. You know, like, what is it? Nurgle and Tzeentch hate each other because Nurgle is all slow and rot and stasis, and Tzeentch is change and this and that and other, but then also Khorne and Tzeentch hate each other because Tzeentch is magic and Khorne is violence. I always get this wrong. Anyway, chaos. It's a stupid thing. It's a stupid thing because the cool part of chaos is like the Word Bearers. It's like the Black Legion. It's the Iron Hands. It's all of these war bands that, you know, and the Night Lords. It's all of these war bands that don't worship one of the gods, but they worship the Chaos Pantheon. And in those kinds of war bands, it's really cool to have. I'm sure I'm going to get 99 comments explaining the amity between the Chaos gods, and I'm pretty sure it isn't. Oh, anyway, I don't care. I think it's much cooler that you can have a warband now where all the marks of chaos are represented, because that's cool. And if you want to be thematic and you want to have no, my guys worship Nurgle, right? You can still do that, right? And I'm sure there's going to be benefits to that. We're going to look at one of the benefits now for being mono god, right? So Chaos Talisman is a totally new piece of equipment, right? So Chaos Talisman, Strategic Gambit. Select one of the Marks of Chaos keywords, you see. Once during each of their activations, when a friendly legionary operative has that keyword, is shooting, fighting, or retaliating, if you roll 2 or more fails, you can inflict D3 damage on a friendly operative to discard a fail and retain the other as a normal success. And if it's a shoot and you incapacitate yourself, you still get to shoot. So it's similar to the Purity Seals, but whereas the Purity Seals just happened, but they were like once on 1 Marine per turning point, you can have Chaos Talismans working on. You can have this. It's Hurricane insurance. It's Whiff insurance, and you can have it on your entire team if you've all got the same mark. So it gives you that incentive. If what you want to do, if your power fantasy is to go, no, my guys are all Nurgle. I've painted them all green. They've all got mushrooms on them. Like, that is cool. I get it, right? And so then you can take a piece of equipment like Chaos Talismans and gain a benefit from that. Likewise, if you like the idea that I think is cool of mixing all the marks and having, you know, guys that are more in favour of different gods, but they're working together in the same warband because, you know, they're veterans of the Long War and they've been working together before anyone had even heard of this chaos thing. And, you know, damned if the one thing that they've got that is still honour is that they still fight with their Legion brothers. To me, that's peak Chaos Space Marine. Then you don't have to take this piece of equipment. You can take half crack grenades instead. It's fine. So, yeah, I like that. I really like Chaos Talismans as a rule. Happily optional, but powerful for the people that want it. Let's look at Blood for the Blood God. So, previously, you had these ploys, and they were keyed off the different marks. And if you, as my wife insisted on doing, playing all Chaos Undivided, you just didn't have as many ploys to use. But they've really changed this now, so Blood for the Blood God. Whenever a friendly legionary operative, excluding Khorne, is fighting, the first time you strike during that sequence, you get 1 additional damage. And if you're Khorne, you just get an extra damage to both to both the damage stats on your melee weapons. So obviously, it really, really helps Khorne a lot. But then all of your non-Khorne, so maybe your Butcher worships Khorne, right? Pretty common. He's got a giant axe, probably. a corn-looking guy, but maybe your butcher worships corn, and then you're like, right, okay, so blood for the blood god, but also your leader gets into combat, and then your leader, who maybe was Chaos Undivided, gets to use the additional damage the first time, and then the butcher gets the big benefit. Like, that's pretty cool, and it means that you're not feeling pushed towards mono god, but maybe you really like the idea of going, no, I'm going to build all melee, and I want to have all my guys having plus to their damage, so I'm going to do that. So I like that mono god seems like a viable option, but it seems like it's not the only way you have to play the team now, which is pretty damn cool if you ask me. Like, the Nemesis Legionary is a lot cooler and a lot more appealing and everything. A Chaos data card. So we see the Balefire Acolyte. So Balefire Acolyte has lost a lot of stuff, actually. He's lost his buffing power. So he used to have a psychic power that buffed him up. Gave him, like, or he could buff himself or a friend. Gave him sort of, like, lethal 5-up and a funny lot of other things. He's also lost, he used to have a demonic or a tainted bolt pistol that was just a bolt pistol with lethal 5-up. He's lost that. Now he's just got a basic bolt pistol. Although, of course, I've stopped writing it, but it does have range 8. Siphon life is better. So the stats are the same, but the Siphon life rule used to be, if you resolve 2 hits, you get D3 back, right? Whereas now, well, I'll read it. Whenever this operative is using this weapon at the start of the resolve attack dice step, you can select one friendly legionary operative visible to him within 6 of this operative. For each attack dice you resolve during that step that inflicts damage, that friendly operative regains 1 wound or D3 wounds if it was a crit. So you getting 1 for every dice rather than the privilege of D3 if you hit twice, and if you get crits you can get D3. So on average you're going to heal a lot more wounds. He used to have a really cool dagger that gave out mortals whenever you retain crits. Now you have a frankly worse dagger that has Siphon life. But Fire Blast, which is his most iconic ability, is unchanged. Lots of the words have changed, but it does the same thing. Okay. He has 14 wounds. So the Chaos Space Marines have joined the Primaris, basically, and it makes sense. Like, they did the whole Primaris thing, and that was what they were doing with the lore for a while. And then they went, no, we should have just made bigger Marines, and then they just made the Chaos Marines bigger. So now Chaos Marines, and we'll see this again with the Night Lords as well. Chaos Marines just have 14 wounds. And it's pretty sweet. So you got the Intercessors with 40 wounds and the Chaos Marines with 40 wounds, and then just the Phobos and the Scouts with their still original amount of wounds. So big buff for both Legionaries and for the Nemesis Claw. Speaking of the Nemesis Claw, let's look at the Nemesis Claw. Now I want to stop doing that. It's time for the Nemesis Claw. I lied. I'm very, very tired. I'm kind of drunk on tiredness, but it's been a long week. Let's go. So, time for the Nemesis Claw. Sorry. They also get the Astartes rule common to all Space Marine kill teams. So they also have, without having to spend any CP, they can do the thing where they can all fight twice, which is, if they keep their little sneaky extra spare charge thing, the fact that they can always just fight twice is going to be really good. Don't know if they kept that, right? They've got a little tactical ploy in the current edition of the game that's like, cool, you charged and you fought and then you killed someone, so now you can do a charge of 2 inches, and it's like, previously you had to think, can I see anywhere where I'm likely to get the 2-inch charge? Okay, I'll spend the CP now in the strategy phase to get fight twice, and then occasionally you'd set it up, you'd spend the CP, and then you'd do the fight, and then you'd whiff and not manage to kill the first target. So now you can always fight twice. It's really, really nice for Nemesis Claw. Also, bolt pistols are a thing, I suppose. But you can always fight twice, which is pretty cool. They've changed it in Midnight Clad. So in Midnight Clad now works on an engage order. So you can be on engage and you can be obscured via a Midnight Clad, which seems pretty busted. Although, like, the way I play the team, right, with all the melee specialists and a melter gun, being on engage is like, well, it means I can charge out of engage, I guess. But you can, like, I'm told Nemesis Claw have a heavy bolter right there on the sprue that you could be using, or a plasma gun that you could be using. I don't think I'm going to stop, but still, being able to be on engage and in obscuring is pretty fun, because, like I say, you can charge out of engage. That's pretty cool. Although it should be said that engage is no longer the kind of ultimate protection it used to be. It's now been nerfed down to you can't crit and you must discard one of your successful hits. You still don't want to be shooting somebody that's obscured, but it's less of a thing. It is worth saying it no longer works with light terrain, so they changed that. Used to be that if you were within an inch of heavy or light, you could be benefiting from every Midnight Clad, and now it's just heavy terrain, which I think is really funny, because if you look at Killzone, Volcus is basically Chalnath 2.0, like it's mostly heavy. Better Decimus, mostly heavy. Into the Dark, it's entirely heavy. And then people say, well, what about barricades? And it's like, well, what about barricades? Because what percentage of games are you actually going to see barricades in, right? Now that they're an optional that you can trade out for things like grenades or whatever else you might want, right? Camo cloaks, all this stuff. So Midnight Clad is definitely buffed, but it does also have some little nerfs to counteract that, right? Grizzly Trophy has changed. So Grizzly Trophy, everyone loves Grizzly Trophy. It's this thing where within 3 inches, if someone shoots you or assaults you, they have 1 less dice. Really good. Makes your usually put it on my leader in Nemesis Claw, makes him really survivable. Now you actually have to create your Grizzly Trophy as you play in the game. So once per battle, when a friendly Nemesis Claw operative incapacitates an enemy operative within 2 inches of it, so not necessarily in combat, just within 2 inches, you can use this rule. If you do, the friendly operative gains a Grizzly Trophy token. Whenever a friendly Nemesis Claw operative that has one of your Grizzly Trophy tokens is visible to and within 2 inches of an enemy operative, subtract 1 from the attack stat. Right, so the range has gone down from 3 to 2, which is sad, okay, and you have to create it from killing someone first before you can benefit from it. Once per battle when a friendly Nemesis Claw operative, so and you can only have 1, right? So it's still good, but it stopped it being this ridiculous auto take thing, I think. Yeah, obviously it's going to depend on what the rest of the equipment is and how good the universal equipment ends up being for Nemesis Claw. Sorry, excuse me, but I'm not thinking we're going to take a Grizzly Trophy in every single game. Okay, maybe not. Return to Darkness is a brand new strategic ploy. So, one friendly Nemesis Claw operative can immediately perform a free fallback or reposition action, but it must end that move with heavy terrain within its control range or any part of its base on an advantage, and it can't end the move close to enemy operatives. So I really like this because it's an out of sequence move. It's a move in the strategic ploy phase, which is pretty cool. It lets you play Night Lords as the fun cowardly Marines, which is a thing that they do sometimes do. You know, I love it when you are playing Night Lords and you do the thing that's sensible and gamey, and you're like, cool, I'm going to run my leader away on 2 wounds because, you know, maybe he is Robert Ransack, or maybe you've got Headhunter, whatever it is. And then it's like, and that's totally like in character for the Night Lords because they're cowardly, sneaky, duplicitous little bastards. They're not corn marines that have to charge forward screaming like lunatics. It's good. It's potentially very, very powerful as well. Although I really like all 4 of the strategic ploys that Nemesis Claw currently have, so I'm a little bit scared to see if we've lost a strategic ploy to gain this one, but we shall have to wait for the full rules. We see I've still said I've not changed the title. This isn't a Brood Brother. Maybe there's a Brood Brother on the stick. This isn't a Brood Brother. He's basically unchanged. Confirmation, if it was needed, that Chaos Space Marines are getting 14 wounds. So, you know, if they'd just shown us the Chaos Librarian, I've forgotten his name, Balefire Acolyte, you might have been like, oh, well, the Balefire Acolyte's kind of like a second leader character. Maybe he just has an extra wounds because it's cool. No. It does seem like all Chaos Space Marines are going to have 14 wounds, just like their loyalist brethren, so I don't need to hear all that cope from Loyalist Space Marine players, that they're going to be the only unique snowflakes with 14 wounds. It does seem like it's going to be all of the Chaos Space Marines too. That's good. And he's got the pistol range buff on his bolt pistol, and otherwise his card is completely unchanged. Disconcerting Mimicry is here to stay in exactly the same way it was before. Okay. Final thoughts. I'm quite excited to keep going with my Night Lords. I'm also quite excited to revisit my Lamenters. I have a painted Strike Force Justian. It's going to be really interesting to digest the rules and to work out what other little bits I have to paint to have a full and useful roster for the Lamenters for the Space Marines. So that'd be really cool as well. Although I have promised that when I finish with these Brood Brothers here, that are now mostly in their display base. Woo, some Brood Brothers. I said I'd take those to a tournament, probably around Christmas time. But I feel like Elite Teams are more my jam. But I said I'd do something, so I'll do it. And this scared me a little bit. So at the end of this article, it says, "That's it for our brief look over every classified kill team getting updated rules when the new edition launches soon." So they did say, and I haven't done a video about it, I mean to, it's on the list for next week when I finish catching up with myself, to do a video about this whole classified kill team thing, because it's a whole jamboree of opinion. And I certainly have opinion, hot takes, cold takes, acid takes, solar takes, nuclear takes, all the kinds of takes. I've spoken to people, I've done research into what real people who really make decisions in the kill team community really think about the classified kill team thing. But one thing they did say in that article was that all of the annual 2024 teams would be getting classified for the first year, i.e. tournament legal for the first year. And now this little footnote thing seems to suggest that they're not going to be tournament legal for the first year, which actually I assumed was the case, and I had to eat humble pie and say, oh no, it seems like you're all fine, you're going to be fully tournament legal for the first year. So hopefully they don't row back on that now, because they disappoint a lot of people. Yeah, so that's interesting. We'll wait and see where that lands when we see the full rules, I'm sure. What's happening next for the channel and kill team coverage? So obviously I've got to do 2 more of these that I've missed. The Eldar one and the Chaos Mortals one. They need doing. So that will be Saturday and Sunday, unless Sunday at 6 PM is when the pre-order preview happens, in which case I'm going to make a video talking about any new information we get on the pre-order preview, like what other products, if any, are we getting alongside Hivestorm? Are we going to get the individual release of the cards, the books, the terrain? What do you actually need to buy, for what purpose? That kind of thing. I don't have any inside information. I never do. But all the little hairs on the back of my hands that stand up when it's about to be on Sunday preview are standing up. All the little nudges and glances and thoughts, and look at all these articles on Warcom, right? And we know, because they've leaked, we know that the influencers have their copies, because that's where this is leaked from, right? So it's gonna be soon, and it can only be because they've said that it's going on pre-order in September for release in October. It has to either go on pre-order next Saturday or the Saturday after. So this is just the first, coming up on Sunday is the first opportunity for it to come out. So on Sunday, either way, we'll know the exact release date, right? Because if they say nothing on Sunday, that means it's coming out not next week but the week after. Okay, good. So yeah, then in the week I've got to do my Turning Point Tactics review. That hopefully I can remember something about any of my games. I want to talk about classified kill teams. I want to have a ramble about maps, map packs, and thoughts about that. So there's so much stuff to come, all about kill team. I apologise for the 3.5 people that subscribed for Star Wars Shatterpoint content. I will maybe get back to that the next time there's a kill team lull, but all these things and more. I want to say, if you've enjoyed the video, especially if you've stuck on to the end when I've really started to lose the will to live, and you've learned something, please consider subscribing and sharing. It has been a real burden, actually, to try and put out videos. I put a video out every day. I didn't put out a video on Wednesday, but I live streamed instead, whilst being back at work for the first full working weeks at the summer holidays. And of course, because I work in a school, I've got a cold. That's why I keep, apologies if I'm making any biological noises down the microphone, or if I sound really like not myself, because of course, I've got this stupid September lurgy, whatever it is. Boo. So please do consider subscribing and sharing. It means the world. A massive thank you to all my members, the people who financially support me every single month. A big perk of being a member is the only really big tangible benefit of being a member, to be perfectly honest. There's a smattering of members only videos, like my pre-tournament vlogs from Turning Point Tactics from the car, which some people tell me that they love, and also you do get to watch all of the hobby streams back. So if you became a member, you'd unlock probably 24 hours or so of quite bad long form ramble content, but if people really love it, it's there for you if you want to put some money down as well. All right, thanks everybody, thanks for the video. It's time to go. Cheery, bye, goodbye, bye.